So, exactly, how does a lack of sleep impact our emotional brain? Why does that lack of sleep makes us so emotionally irrational and hyperactive? Well, several years ago, a group of scientists conducted a brain imaging study. They took a group of healthy adults and they gave them full night's sleep. While some of them, well, for some of them, they took away their sleep. And then the next day they placed them inside an MRI scanner to look at how their emotional brain was reacting. They focused on one structure in particular. It's called the amygdala. And the amygdala is one of the central regions for the generation of strong emotional reactions, including negative emotional reactions. Now, when they looked at those people who had a full night's sleep, um, they saw a nice and appropriate moderate degree of reactivity from the amygdala. It wasn't as though there was no response at all, but it was an appropriate response. Yet in those people who were sleep deprived, that deep emotional brain center was in fact hyperactive. Indeed, the amygdala was almost 60% more responsive under conditions of lack of sleep. But why is that the case? And what they went on to discover is that there's another brain region which is involved. That brain region is called the prefrontal cortex, and it sits right directly above your eyes. And you can think of the prefrontal cortex almost like the CEO of your brain. It's very good at making high level executive top down control decisions and reactions. In fact, it's one of the most evolved regions of our brain, and one of the parts of the brain that it controls is the deep emotional center, which is the amygdala. Now, in those people who had a full night's sleep, there was a nice, strong, and connection between the prefrontal cortex regulating that deep emotional brain center. But in those people who are sleep deprived, that communication, that connection between prefrontal cortex and the deep amygdala emotional brain center had essentially been severed. And as a consequence, the amygdala was responding far more reactively due to a lack of sleep. And as a consequence, so it's like without sleep, we become an emotional accelerator pedal and too little regulatory control brake. And that seems to be the reason that we become so unbuckled in terms of our emotional integrity when we haven't been sleeping well. And that's the reason that can happen if I can take sleep away from you. But it turns out that something good can happen when you get your sleep back. And sleep, particularly rapid eye movement sleep, actually offers a form of emotional first aid because it's during sleep at night that our body takes these difficult emotional experiences that have been uh, that we have experienced during the day, and that sleep acts almost like a nocturnal soothing balm, taking the sharp edges of those difficult experiences. And so perhaps it's exactly not time that heals, it's time during sleep that provides that form of emotional convalescence. So that when we come back the next day, we are able to cope up with those emotional memories.